Hello, everyone. This is Armani Williams,
And this is John Ian Asprin, but I usually go by Ian.
and today we're discussing about cyborgs for our science and science fiction PowerPoint. So, what is a cyborg, Ian?
All right, so to start off, a cyborg pretty much defines a half human and a half machine. People who are modified with machines throughout their body that can enhance their ability to do more than any of us could.
Yep, basically, like we're talking people with cybernetic enhancements that can do anything supernatural. They can lift up heavy trucks or tanks and kick them like far distances, or able to fly into space with rocket boots, or have like sprout out wings from their backs and stuff like that. And that leads us to our next slide, discussing what the cyborg name came from, like where it originated from. It was an idea from NASA when they were brainstorming ways in 1960 about how having a human survive in space. And this leads to the creation of the new word cybernetic technology or cyborg technology, which refers to any mechanical, non organic implantations into the human body to so the human body can perform a function that they cannot do anymore, or like advance another option they can do.
Yeah, just like what Armani explained, how pretty much that how if you have a inorganic material or like something like that implanted inside your body or even outside, you're pretty much considered, like a cyborg. And I like the fact that like how it was, invented by NASA, how it adapted to like pretty much our everyday lives now. So you can see everyone who, like has like prosthetics and stuff like that, and you can see them like everywhere around the world.
Exactly, bro. And that leads to our first example of how science fiction takes the word of cyborg and put in a unique twist with this guy. You take it away,
Yeah,
Ian.
yeah. So like for our first example, we decided to use this character from the recently released video game called Cyberpunk 2077. His name is Adam Smasher. He's one of the game's dangerous main antagonists. So what happened to him was that he suffered from an RPG blast, and he pretty much only one option, which is like to pull the plug, because other than that he won't be able to I mean, to pull the plug, because he can't survive anymore. But this company called Aerosol Corporation offered him a chance to like to have him survive by becoming a full-bodied cyborg. And he agreed to become a cyborg. And later on, he also became under controlled by the Aerosol Corporation, which makes him one of the dangerous main antagonists in the video game.
Yeah, and so he may seem like a full body robot, but he's still technically a cyborg because he still have his human brain and also some skin around the human brain that shows that
Yes.
he still has
Mhm.
his humanity with him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then this leads to our next example when it comes to the eye implants from the game.
Yeah, so we also use Cyberpunk's like popular um cybernetic enhancement. It's called Kirosho Optics. It's an eye implant that can enhance your vision. It relates so much to like contact lenses that we use in real life, except the fact that this is more um science fiction. So like like you can do way more than you could ever imagine having these kind of stuff in real life. For example, like you can see through walls, stuff like that. Instead, like what we use in real life, like the contact lenses, we can't really do that, except the fact that it can enhance our vision a lot clearer and stuff.
Yeah, so it's basically like going to buy contact color eyes, like that changes the pupil eye color, but in a way
Hmm.
more advanced way where you can like change the whole shape of your eye, or even have multiple pupils like shown in the photo here, or just have
Yeah.
sunglasses in your eyeballs, like sunglass lenses in your eyeballs, which is a cool feature. And then that leads to the cyber brain.
Yeah, so for this one, we decided to use one of the popular anime, or like one of they actually released a movie for it too. We actually showed one of the scenes here, but this one, it's called Cyberbrain. It's pretty much a cybernetic implant that allows the human brain to connect with networks and as well as other people around the world. Pretty much having a PC or even a phone that's implanted in your brain. You don't need to like pull out your phone just to text someone. If, for example, if I need to text Armani, I can just like think about it, and then like it'll just like it'll just automatically text him like that, like what I wanted to say.
Exactly. And like
Mhm.
Ghost in the Shell dives into many types of ways cyborgs are able to connect themselves to the internet, but still like just by themselves with a thought or even being nowhere near any Wi-Fi connections or anything. Just because of the cyber brain, they have basically a Wi-Fi router with internet at all times. And
Mhm.
that leads to the next part, which is ghost diving.
Yeah, so ghost diving, pretty much just the same as like the cyber brain. This one is more, I believe, more extremely more complex, since it gives you the ability to like physically send one's consciousness into a network in order to retrieve information. This one right here, this is what they use, like especially like hackers in that anime, in order for you to like retrieve like personal data or information. This is what they tend or normally do, called ghost diving.
Yeah. So like basically in a way you are taking your USB cord and connecting it to your brain and having your mental spirit body go inside the network, and you're able to go through files and stuff like that without physically opening up your computer and going to the file explorer section. So it is a quick way to see what files you have or even to hack to. And it just shows how cool cyborgs can be in the science fiction world.
Hmm.
And then this video is here to show you what cyborgs are
What are
comprised
you
of.
doing to me?
I have connected you to a network of my own creation. When I am finished in this world, my ghost can survive there and regenerate.
What do you want from me?
I became fascinated with you, reading your code while you were inside that geisha. Like nothing I had felt before, and yet so familiar. We are the same.
We are not the same. You kill innocent people.
Innocent, is that what you call them? I am as they made me.
Who made you?
What have they told you? That you were the first? The first cerebral salvage? You were born. Lessons took from my failure.
What are you talking about?
I was conscious while they dismembered my body and discarded me like garbage. I was lying on a table, listening to doctors talk about how my mind had not meshed with the shell that they had built. Our project 2571 had failed, and they had to move on. To you. What a beauty you are. They have improved us so much since they made me. They thought that we would be a part of their evolution, but they have created us to evolve alone. Beyond them.
Evolution, that's what you call it. Killing everyone who made you.
You're not listening to me.
You're a murderer.
They tried to kill me first. It is Self-defense. Defense of self. More will die until they tell me what.
All right, so this scene kind of like shows you the gist of what's going on, like what's really happening in, like the movie Ghost in the Shell, the 2017 adaptation. Um, this one right here, it kind of explains to you like how both of them, the guy and like the girl, they're both like test subjects, except the fact that they failed um the guy, like what he said, how they dismembered him, how many times that they tortured and then did some experiments. However, they still failed, so they ended up throwing him away as like I mean like a garbage until they perfected the right cyborg, which is her name's Major and the guy's name's Kuze. But yeah, it's just like it's a really interesting movie. We didn't want to explain too much just because we don't want to spoil what really happened. But yeah, if you guys want to watch it, I mean, it's Ghost in the Shell 2017 version.
Yeah. And this basically kind of shows how like some science fiction shows how even the creation of cyborgs can be evil too and stuff like that, of how these scientists just kidnapped two innocent bystanders and just completely changed their lives.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
And this leads to the examples of some cybernetic enhancements.
Yes. So first of all, like prosthetics, probably like really mainly common around, as well as the implantation. But to start off, prosthetics would be, like a lot of people like unfortunately lost their limbs through accidents or even war, and they ended up having prosthetics, which is I think really beneficial, just so like they can continue on, like living their normal lives just like we do. If we wanted to go grocery shopping, or if they want to go grocery shopping, like they don't have to be stuck at home or even on a wheelchair. They can actually like, get up, like just enjoy their lives, as well as, the implantation. People who suffer from like fractures and stuff like that, like they have to end up getting metal rods inside their bodies, so like they can perform and like live a normal life just like we do.
Yeah, and like some of these prosthetics and implantations don't necessarily be used only to help people that need it. Like they can be also used for cosmetic reasons. Like this British artist, he was so fascinated with cyborgs and stuff in science fiction that he paid money to surgically implant an antenna from the back of his head, so it shows that he's like a cyborg. And also too, some prosthetic people will purposely change their arms to have mechanical arms or something like that when they feel like they need to and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
And this leads to our next video talking about some of the cybernetics in the real world.
One groundbreaking application of body-machine communication already offers paraplegic people a mobility they thought they'd lost forever.
Julie, did we have a little accident?
Professor Tim Perkins has developed a system which allows communication between the crank mechanism of the tricycle and a set of electrodes which stimulate nerves controlling some of the muscles in the lower limbs. Julie Hill was one of Tim's first guinea pigs. So far, she's the only person in the group to have implanted electrodes linked directly into her nervous system. Signals from the crank pass via a computer-programmed controller into the implant, stimulating her legs to make a circular motion.
There's a line that runs back to this control box. This is her stimulation controller. As I say, she's got an implanted stimulator, so the connection between the outside world and her implant inside is via this RF transdermal transmitter, and she places this on the right side of her chest and just immediately over where the implant is inside, and that takes the signals via some cabling that's implanted round to the small of her back and into the electrodes on her spinal nerve roots. So that's how it works. All we've got to do really is to map out which nerve root corresponds to which set of muscles and measure over which angle of the cranks that the pedal force is actually positive. Because there's no point in doing it the other way around, otherwise the pedals would go backwards. And that wouldn't do, would it?
It's good fun. It's very good for me. It's keeping me healthy and fit. It's keeping my blood pumping. It's keeping my bone density high. It's just, I'm going to have a long, happy, normal life. And it's mainly down to the fact that I can keep as fit and active as I am.
So basically what's shown in that video was that this professor, Tim Perkins, was trying to connect the find a ways to connect the machines, like the bicycle machines he has, to paraplegic people's electrodes that were implanted into them, so that they're still able to work machinery and stuff like that, just like shown with Julie Hill. And it's more or less the transmitter that interacts with the implanted electrodes that allows movement when the brain thinks of movement, kind of like how we do when the brain controls the nervous system so we can move our hands and stuff like that.
Hmm. Just like what Armani explained, I think it's really beneficial, for everyone, for anyone who's paraplegic or kind of like have the same disability as that. Just like what Julie Hill said, I'm gonna live a happy, long, normal life. I mean, you can tell that it not only affects them, like it benefits them, but like it also affects them like mentally. It keeps them happy and stuff like that. I think it's a really like nice thing to like see with this kind of devices and stuff like that.
Exactly, Ian. And so this leads to our final example of science fiction, which would be the androids.
So for our last example, we decided to use Android 17 and 18, originally named Lapis and Lazuli. They're once, like normal human beings until they were kidnapped by, a mad scientist named Dr. Jiro.
Yeah, and these Android 17, 18, they may be called androids, but they're still cyborgs because of how they still kept their human skin, hair, even DNA. But the only thing that's really cybernetically enhanced were their inside organs, like their heart and their muscles, and so on and so forth, which allows them to have limitless stamina so they can be able to fight against the stronger foes during Dragon Ball Z at the time, like Goku and Vegeta. And this leads to our final slide. Basically, just any afterthoughts about the cyborgs. Like cyborgs, all in all, are kind of interesting. Like it's ways of having increased knowledge of technology, able to integrate out with the normal human body to give humans more abilities, you could say. Like,
Mhm.
what else you got, Ian?
I think it's really cool, like how Armani just explained the last slide with the Android 17 and 18. They relate, I mean, they correlate so much with the story of Ghost in the Shell with Kuze and Major, how they were once, both normal human beings, but until, they were kidnapped against their will and, obviously tortured and even, like murdered just to become like a full-bodied cyborg and stuff like that. I think it's just really interesting to like, you know, find that out and stuff.
Yeah. And hopefully, though, like scientists don't go that route and kidnap people and force them to cyborgs, but
Yeah.
if like there's an individual that lost their limbs or their internal organs not working, maybe with the new technologies, they can have, just like with Julie Hill, implanted electrons to make them like connect the machinery like the
Hmm.
Tim Perkins bike and be able to move again and stuff like that, or even just have robotic legs or robotic arms if they lost their limbs in other accidents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And these are just some of the sources we have, and have a nice day,
Mhm.
everyone.
Thank you.